Thank you so much for joining us for Innovate tonight. As you know, this is an open session, free and open to the public, and we invite luminaries and visionaries and thought leaders to share some of the really exciting and interesting work that they're doing. So thank you so much for joining us and spending some time with us today. Let's jump forward to the next slide there, Liz. I'm Timothy Summers. It's such a pleasure to spend some time with you all. This is the Innovate series is sponsored by Arizona State University, specifically the University Technology Office. And I'm your host. And enough about me. Let's jump on to the next slide. So tonight we've got a really awesome guest. If you've ever wondered how to tokenize your time, let the market decide what an hour with you is worth. If you have questions about decentralized finance or DeFi, as we say, or if you're curious about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, what about staking and earning crypto or creating your own blockchain? Perhaps even maybe you're curious about liquidity pools and exchange. All of this and so much more will be discovered and explored in this interactive session. I want to welcome and thank generously Adiraj Gupta for spending some time with us. Adiraj is gonna cover a bit of a story about how he created his own token. Adiraj is the president of Impact Launchpad, and he's the CIO and co-founder of a stealth fintech venture, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm super excited. Maybe he'll share some of that. He's going to walk us through creating a new wallet, creating a digital wallet, and setting it up to run on the Binance Smart Chain. He's also going to distribute some of his awesome Audi tokens for joining the session in your newly created wallet. As many of you know, we have our own efforts going on at ASU around a digital wallet. And so this is really exciting for folks to get an opportunity and firsthand experience to actually create their own wallet. Adiraj's passion lies in creating and running startup experiments to explore a spectrum of opportunities in industries, including finance markets, banking, payments, blockchain, healthcare, and various types of technologies. One of the predictions that Adiraj has about the future is that people that can operate at a high level of uncertainty and a high level of risk while learning, unlearning, and relearning quickly will define the most successful people in the future. And without further ado, let's jump to the next slide. I want to make sure we don't have any. I think we might have one more slide. Oh, and please join us on our meetup if you love what you hear tonight and want to join us for more sessions. Please join our meetup and feel free to join us in the future. Without further ado, Adiraj, thank you so much for being here, and I'd like to kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim. And I really appreciate so many people jumping on board and excited for the session. I guess where I'll start is a little bit about my crypto journey and how I got into this crazy space, what I've kind of done in the space over the last couple of years, and then diving more into how to set up a wallet, why I created the awesome Audi token, how you can create a similar token for yourself, and then we can look at some DeFi and other crypto stuff that's emerging in the space. So I actually started in the crypto space pretty early, 2012, 2013. One of my really, really good friends, he used to buy a lot of utilities from various places on the internet. And he was like, hey, you should check out this Bitcoin thing. And I took a look at it and I was like, this is actually pretty fascinating. I had to read the white paper, but at the time I had no way of actually buying it, or, exchanges weren't really a thing. And it was just actually really difficult to get into the space. So I ignored it a couple of years for that. At the time, Bitcoin was $4 US. And then a couple of years later, while at university, the same friend of mine joined the same class that I was in. And I was like, I thought you were, traveling the world. And he's like, yeah, I sold a lot of Bitcoin at 4,000 when it went up. I traveled the world for the last 2 years and ran out of money. So now I'm back with a student loan at university. Um, and I was like, how is that doing? And he was like, yeah, you should definitely take a look. So kind of dived into the space back then. Bitcoin at the time was about $600 US, which was a pretty nice entry point given where things are at right now. Um, and as I kind of started diving into the space, I actually ended up joining my first startup venture, which was a Techstars fintech program. And in the accelerator program, we made a joke, and this is early 2016, that we should just take our seed money that the accelerator program gives you. I think it's about 20K, and just put it all into crypto. And even now, periodically, we go in and check, and at the last checkpoint, crypto, if we'd put that 20K in, would have been worth about 450 million. So it's a pretty crazy space to be in. Again, we didn't do that. But the startup went pretty well regardless, and had a pretty early exit about 5 months into the venture, which was awesome. After that, I kind of spent some time in the consulting world, so doing a lot of work with cross-border payments and transactions and fintech. And what was fascinating was the little bit of dabbling that I'd done in the crypto space had showed me a lot of like infrastructure and how it could work and what was possible. And then I was working in the real financial industry, in investment banking, consulting, and it was a completely different market, right? Where like things were really, really slow, and it was actually pretty complicated, and there was a lot of regulation that you had to deal with, but it just didn't deliver the user experience that I'd seen was possible already in the crypto space a couple of years before that. And so that kind of led to me starting a company called Crypto Launchpad, which in the early days in the crypto is pretty Wild West. It's a lot more organized, regulated, and safer now, but it didn't used to be. And so what Crypto Launchpad was intending to do in the space was work with exchanges, work with family offices, work with VCs and high net worth individuals, and actually provide that security to not only test and validate and understand projects, but actually give recommendations on, hey, is this a good investment or not? And we did that for quite some years. So Crypto Launchpad started in 2017. It grew pretty quickly from there. I can potentially share my screen 1 second. So yeah, this is just the Crypto Launchpad website. It started in 2017. We actually grew pretty crazy in the early days. So with kind of 60K in capital investment that just me and the co-founders put in, we were doing like, we went up to nearly 50-60 million US in revenue pretty early on. And that was a lot. There was a lot of interest in the crypto space at the time. And so we were just in a perfect position to be helping people and providing that support. 2017, late 2017, just as we were really starting to, find our feet, and really start to build infrastructure, the crypto market crashed, similar to what it's been in the last couple of hours and last couple of days. So that's an interesting topic to bring up. But the crypto market crashed, and our position in the market was one where, as a company, we wanted to support founders and we wanted to support the teams. So rather than taking cash in crypto and selling them as soon as we got it, similar to a lot of other projects in the space, we were actually holding those digital assets, and we were actually holding them, and we still hold some of them, but because of the crash over time, a lot of them aren't worth anything, because some of the projects that we worked with or did testing for or actually validated, they just don't exist anymore, or they do exist, but they've kind of haven't been growing. So that was the first kind of first venture in the crypto space. It's been interesting because over the last 3-4 years, there's been a lot of other stuff that I've been building, but literally in the last 3 months, there's been more inquiries come through Crypto Launchpad than I've ever had. Like, we're averaging like 16 to 30 new inbound leads a day, which is insane because, for a year or two, there was literally maybe 5 or 6 leads in a year. And actually, Tim and I did some stuff together with Crypto Launchpad back early in the days as well. So Tim got to experience a little bit of that. But I'll take a minute there and let you add anything, Tim, if you have anything to add. I'll probably take a quick question here before diving into why Awesome token was created.
Let's maybe for a moment, we'll take a second, because a lot of the topics that that seem really new and fresh right now, they've been topics that, we've been talking about for quite some time. I'm curious, if you could share some thoughts on maybe on the crypto market right now. I know that's something that we were talking about. So let's start there. Maybe what are your thoughts on the current market?
Yeah, I mean, the current market, we've had a pretty massive bull run for the last couple of months. I think the evolution of Binance Smart Chain coming to market and just speeding up transactions and lowering gas prices has really blown up the space pretty substantially. But it's interesting because for the last month or so, my personal feeling was it's about to crash. Like too much has happened. And in the crypto market, people at some point start to take profits out. And when they do, then it's just a quick spike down, right? Like the equities markets, when they crash pretty quick, but it might be over a period of days or a period of months, right? Crypto markets, because it's so easy to get in and out, could go down 50, 60, 80% in an hour or within a day. And there's a lot of automatic bots and things that actually trade independently of people. So when those stop losses start to trigger, things just actually sink really, really quickly. In saying that, I think that this time around, the market's very different. And the reason I say that is because the 2017 market crash, which in my opinion was the last big proper market crash that we had, the industry and the space was very different. So it was people that primarily knew what they were doing or had a level of technical knowledge and capabilities to really get involved, because there was a lot of complexity to get involved. I think now with the likes of TikTok and Instagram videos, people have made it so easy for an average Joe to download a wallet and get involved, even with complicated things, that it's a very retail and a very different space. So to give you an example, my ex-girlfriend, she never believed in crypto, never bought any crypto and any assets, and she messages me like a month ago, and she's like, "Hey, I saw this video on TikTok for this project called Elongate. Can you help me buy some?" And I'm like, all right, I'll take a look. And so I go on and it's actually pretty painful to buy. It's like you have to have a Binance Smart Chain wallet. You have to know how to use Pancake Swap. You have to actually copy paste the contract address in, and then it gives you a warning that this is likely to be a scam project. Do you want to continue, right? And I was like, all right, fine. So I bought her $200 worth, bought me $100 worth, and it's ridiculous because they obviously nailed that TikTok marketing so well that I checked back like 2 weeks later, it was worth $3,000 US. Like it's the most insane thing, right? And so I was like, oh, like, you should probably cash out at least your original investment or a grand or two. And she was like, yeah, like I'll take out 200. There's this other TikTok project that I saw that I want to get in now. And it's another like completely crazy. I've never heard of it, right? And so I think like this time around the market's just different because people want things to believe in, and if they see their favorite influencer buying this random crypto somewhere and there's an instruction on how to do that and it's not too complex, it's one of those things where there's a lot more real capital flowing into the space rather than Bitcoin gains being diversified into other things.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. Actually, this is something that I've also noticed in the market as well. My sister reached out to me recently, does nothing in crypto. And she said, yeah, I just bought the so-and-so token. And I was like, wait, what is that? So it is interesting that, now just from that perspective, right? Influencers are out there talking about, about digital assets. So maybe we take just for a moment. I know that you also spent quite a bit of time with NFTs, in that space as well. Maybe you could share just a little bit of your thoughts around NFTs and just it's a big buzz right now. Everyone's talking about it. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so the NFT space is interesting, as you're familiar, Tim. But for the rest of the people joining the session, me and a group of my friends have been involved in the NFT space from pretty early on. I actually sat on the International Standards Organization, ISO, and actually helped review some of the original standards for NFTs. And our friend Aram and Mitchell and Blake, they actually helped create some of the original ones. So not CryptoKitties, but the projects that actually came during the same time, Banimals and Crypto Pets. Yeah. But what's fascinating is that, like, at the time, when that sort of stuff, NFT space was growing up, it was very much like a very niche part of the crypto market. It was very much like, like you're deep down in the depths of crypto and you hold some digital kitties. Like, that's brilliant. But now it's completely changed. So now it's at a point where I think a similar thing is happening in the NFT space that happened in the real world playing card space, right? So, like, I remember 10 years ago, every company from McDonald's to Burger King to, all the food chains were releasing sports playing cards and, Pokemon playing cards. Like, everyone had their own version of playing cards, and each one was a collectible. And there was communities forming around each one, right? I think it's a very, very similar time in the NFT space now, where it's become really, really easy for people to create NFTs. It's actually become really cheap and reasonable to distribute and manage NFTs. Because again, with NFT market on Ether, it was really, really expensive, so it wasn't as easy. But with Binance Smart Chain, that becomes a lot easier and a lot cheaper as well. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, every person will have some sort of NFT or have the ability to make their NFT. The part that I still struggle with, though, is, there's a lot of things that have intangible value to individual people. And that's the same story with NFT, where one person might find it really, really valuable, but you try and sell it to another person, they're like, you have to pay me to get it, right? And an example might be, like, let's say I'm a big Black Panther fan, right? And so if someone created a physical watch that was a limited edition Black Panther watch, by the way, someone did this, that's something that would be really appealing for me. And I'd be like, okay, I would spend a decent amount of money as a fan to get that watch, right? But equally, someone else is like, okay, cool, it's a watch. Like, I'm not going to pay that amount of money for it. I think that's a similar thing with the NFTs, where knowing that, especially with celebrities now, if a celebrity's created some exclusive content that you as the fan is the only person that gets to see, and because you're paying to see it, you can then on-sell it to someone else without releasing what the content is, because that's how you maintain its integrity. That kind of is a no-brainer, right? Like it makes sense for people to create collectibles of themselves and collectibles of assets, and particularly celebrities, and being able to share with fans exclusive content that's only relevant to them. So I think, like, this space is here to stay, but just a fair warning that, like, I wouldn't treat this space as an investment, right? Like, it would be the same as, like, in the 90s when people were collecting, like, those collectible dolls and, like, things like that. And you don't know 30 years from now which one's going to be valuable. It's the same thing with the NFT space. I'm sure there'll be a lot that are really valuable. What those are right now, I could have no idea. Like, your crystal ball is as good as mine.
And this is a really good segue, I think, into another topic of which you share and you have thought leadership on in a lot of ways around decentralized finance. I mean, you're let's talk about that. Let's just talk about DeFi. Maybe you can kind of couch it like, when you think of DeFi, what is it to you?
Yeah, so DeFi is a really, really interesting topic. And it's a really interesting topic because when DeFi first started emerging about 3-4 years ago, I completely ignored it. I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. At the time, I was doing a lot of work in investment banking and in traditional finance, and invested in a lot of platforms like Sharesies, which is a competitor to Robinhood in the Australasian market. But anyway, I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing. It's bad user experience. There's really no, like, you can read the smart contract, but, like, it's limited functionality. There's no bridging. Getting capital in and out is difficult. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of barriers. So I ignored the DeFi space for like roughly 3-4 years. And at the start of this year, actually, a friend of mine messaged me saying, "Hey, have you had a look at the DeFi space?" And I was like, I mean, it's so funny, like pancakes, sushi, like zombie, like how can you have financial instruments that have names like that and look like you're playing a video game? He's like, no, you should actually pay attention to it and take a proper look. And so I'm glad I did, because I kind of did a deep dive. Actually went through a lot of the smart contracts in the DeFi space and kind of understood how they functioned. And honestly, my mind is blown. Like I do not think a space has matured as quickly as the DeFi space has in the last 3 years. And to be honest, like I think I've kind of changed my perspective on that now, where traditional finance is boring in comparison to what DeFi does, right? Like the fact that I can, put some money into Zombie at 6,000% yield and cash out in a second with no holding periods. That's pretty ridiculous. My bank currently offers me 0.1% interest. So it's a pretty interesting space to be in. I think what's really, really maturing about the market, though, is initially it was just like, hey, you can deposit your crypto and you can loan it out to people and then get a yield back for it, right? And historically in the DeFi space, the yields were like 6 to 8%, which, if I think about it, at the time, like me trusting a random smart contract with my Bitcoin or with my Ether that then they loaned out to someone else in the hope that they paid that back and then I got my 8%, I'm like, it's not worth it. I'd rather hold the asset and get the gains on it just by holding it, right? The capital gains on it. But now, the security of the space is like improved significantly. And how you get in and out of the space has become significantly more improved. But I think the biggest thing is the liquidity in the capital. So, historically, like in the DeFi space, when I first looked at it, might have been 20-30 million in random debt and liquidity pools. Now, like PancakeSwap is like doing $6 billion worth of volume a day or some ridiculous amount. There's trillions of like if you add up all the volume for this year in just the DeFi space alone, is probably over $1 trillion. And I can actually screen share and show some examples of DeFi stuff, but maybe we do that a little bit later. But yeah, I do think that like now it's one of those things where putting a little bit of money into DeFi and kind of playing around is an absolute no-brainer.
I'm with you. I mean, it seems that like the names of many of these things are so random. And when you say, just for the audience to make sure that we're clear, when you say a liquidity pool, what does that really mean?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, actually. So if you think about how a traditional stock market works, right? So what you have is you've got an order book. So you've got 10 people selling a share of Apple at $100 per share. You've got 9 people willing to buy a share of Apple at various prices from $100 down to $50. And then you have people that market sell and market buy. So if I market buy, I'm just accepting whatever the seller's price is. And if I market sell, I'm accepting whatever the buyer's price is, right? So essentially, that's an order book format where it does the matchmaking. Liquidity pool is really, really fascinating, because what it does is it basically takes all of the assets and puts it in a literal pool. So if you imagine like a swimming pool, right? And inside a swimming pool, imagine if you throw in, you throw in some Bitcoin, you throw in some US dollars, you throw in some Osmadi token, and what you're doing is, because of the assets in a pool, the pool automatically calculates all the prices associated with those assets. So if I wanted to put in, if I wanted to extract Bitcoin from a pool, and I put in 100 US dollars, what happens is it looks at the pool as a whole, and it calculates how much $100 worth of Bitcoin would be based on the other assets that are in the pool. And then if I swap it, it puts my $100 in and it pulls out that BTC, right? Now, why that's really, really interesting is because as soon as I do that, now the pool is $100 more worth of US dollars, and $100 less worth of Bitcoin, which means the prices then recalibrate instantly. And so if the next person behind me is trying to do that, they get a different price for Bitcoin and different price for USD than what I've just got. And so if you think about a traditional market, while the prices of, let's say, Bitcoin are going up on a traditional exchange that uses an order book, for you to get the kind of lowest price, you actually have to put in conditional orders and hope for the best, right? Mm-hmm. With the liquidity pool, if I see the price changing on a traditional stock market or on a exchange like Binance, I can instantly do the transaction on the liquidity pool and cash out, and I can arbitrage it instantly. And there's enough people arbitraging it that a liquidity pool, most of these pools actually maintain the price pretty spot on to what exchanges is. But the mechanism for how it's dealt with is completely different.
Wow. Wow. And the opportunity for arbitrage between exchanges, I mean, that was a big thing, right? I mean, are folks still doing that where they're trading on different exchanges to get a better rate?
Yeah, so that happens a lot, but I think it's actually happening even more now in the DeFi space. So to give you an example, like if you and Bitcoin's massive, but if you picked a smaller token, let's say for example,
what about Stellar?
Yeah, sure. Well, Stella's still pretty big, but like let's say you pick Stellar, right? Now, if you were someone that wanted to buy a large amount of Stellar, and you went on an exchange, you would move the price up because of how much of Stellar you're buying. You would actually have an impact on the price. Versus if you go to a liquidity pool and there is enough Stellar in the pool, and you're willing to deposit, a large amount of US dollars to buy that Stellar, it would actually tell you the price impact that you would have before you make that transaction happen. And so not only can you make a calculated guess at, okay, this is worthwhile me doing or it's not worthwhile me doing, but it literally calculates that and tells you. And so the more liquidity a pool has, the more you can make larger transactions without any price impact. And oftentimes, the best part about it is the pool not only tells you a negative price impact, but a positive price impact as well. So let's say if on an exchange, I'm trying to buy Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin is $100 now, versus in a liquidity pool, the price of Bitcoin is $50. Now, when I go in and I say, okay, I want to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, it will tell me positive 50% price impact. So as a retail person, I can go in and actually do arbitrage in real time and make money doing that, rather than relying on other people to be making money on that space. So the liquidity pools concept is actually brilliant, and I think it's one of the purest ways of calculating the price of any given asset. Wow. So the traditional stock market example of that would be like, imagine if in a pot you put Apple, you put Tesla, you put US dollars in, and allowed people to deposit US dollar or Tesla or Apple in and switch it out for any of the other assets in the pot, you would actually get a real measurement of what all of those assets are worth. Versus when each one is trading independently, yeah, you get a valuation, but the valuation is typically independent, right? Like Tesla's valuation isn't impacted by how Apple's doing and vice versa. Versus this, it kind of connects up to each other.
The really interesting piece about that, that's so fascinating, is that the retail investor can commit arbitrage. I mean, this is something that, when I used to do foreign exchange trading, you can create bots that find opportunities of arbitrage for you, but for the retail investor to be able to do that is pretty different, right? That's not traditional, is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would almost be impossible for me to try and do arbitrage on traditional stock markets or even crypto markets that are on exchanges, just because things move too fast. Versus the amount of transactions that I've done in the DeFi space, where I've got a positive impact from doing that transaction, is, to be honest, a lot, like over half of them, I would imagine.
Wow. Okay. Wow. This is really, really fascinating. I'm sure that, and I just want to share with the audience here, if you have any questions as we're going along, please put them into the chat, and we'll make sure to share them with Adi so that he can give us his perspective on some things. So maybe this is a good time, Adi, to kind of take where would you like to go next?
Yeah, so I think I'd love to share the awesome Adi token story,
Yeah.
um, and then maybe dive into the MetaMask stuff and go from there.
So before you share the awesome Audi token story, because this is a really powerful story. I remember meeting the CryptoKitties guys in at a conference, and I remember hearing all kinds of projects being presented at the conference, and folks were talking about tokens and and creating their own token. And it sounded like this really mystical thing. So really fascinated if you could with your story about the awesome Audi token. So to kind of tell us about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, so let me I'll share my screen in a second, but basically it happened roughly 3-4 years ago, the original one. So there's two awesome Adi token. There's the V1 and the V2, which is more recent. But basically, a couple of years ago, I was invited. We have a question. Can you explain arbitrage? Yeah, Lorenzo, I'll come back to that question after the awesome Adi token thing, or maybe I should cover it now.
Look, if you could, Audi, maybe you have some thoughts to share on it now.
So it might be better to actually show you. Let me show you. That might be the best way to do it. So 1 second. Let me share my screen.
I'm sure that Lorenzo appreciates you showing.
Yeah. So okay. So let me go to. Let's go Pancake, for example. And my wallet is connected. So if I go to trade, for example, and I go exchange. Let's pick once it loads. Sorry, the internet's a little bit slow. It's really slow. This is not the DeFi space. This is my internet, even though I have fiber.
Your internet sucks, Audi. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so we have to reconnect my wallet. Cool, awesome. All right, so this is in the DeFi space how you would exchange different assets. So as you can see, my wallet here, I've got some BNB, and I'm just going to pull up my wallet so you can see. So this is my awesome Adi token wallet. As you can see, I've got some BNB in here. I've got a lot of awesome Adi token, and then some tiny amounts of some other projects as well. But let's pick something. So let's say anything in particular that stands out. Let's go with.
What was yeah, there you go. Just pick a random. But I saw Adam in there. I think that's one I'm familiar with.
Adam? Yeah, I mean, really, we can pick whatever. So, okay, so let's say Adam, for example, and I want to buy. Actually, let's do BUSD because I think the US dollar will probably be a good example. So, cool.
Yeah.
BUSD. So I want to switch some Binance BNB coin for some BUSD, which is Binance US dollar peg, right? So this is always going to be $1. This will have variable pricing. Let's say I want to switch 0.1 BNB for BUSD. So as you can see here, it tells me the price. So this amount of BNB is per USD. If I switch this, it will tell me, okay, so $364 US is what the price of 1 BNB is. Slippage tolerance is how much I'm willing to lose in a given transaction. So currently it's set to 10%. I'm actually going to change this to 0.5% because I don't want to be paying more than 0.5% in transaction fees or any other fees or even like price impact than that, right?
So the slippage, Audi, the slippage fees are the slippage tolerance. Is that when you are those fees like is that accounting for fees that you're going to pay across exchanges or?
So this is accounting for fees that you paid the network and the contract itself. So for example, let's say Elongate token, for example, right? When you're making a transaction from Elongate to anything else or anything else to Elongate, this has to be set to at least 12% because Elongate token, the smart contract, charges you 10% transaction fees. So if you don't set this to higher than 10%, it's going to fail the transaction, right? Whereas I know BNB and BUSD has no limit, so 0.5 is a pretty safe place to do it, right? Now, this is where the arbitrage comes in. So as you can see, for the 0.1 BNB, I'm going to receive 36.37 BUSD. And this price impact, because it's green, it means I'm actually doing arbitrage against the pool, and I'm making 0.02% on this transaction. And then this is the fee that the liquidity provider is going to make, right? So if I redid that, it will recalculate again, because this is all in real time. This is kind of the beauty of it, right? So put it in, again, the values have changed. And because someone else would have done a transaction, the price impact now is less than 0.01%. Now, if I picked another project, so let's say BTC, though BTC probably won't have any price impact, but it's worth trying out. Okay, so yeah, actually, so it does. So if I go 0.1 right now, because of the price of Bitcoin and what's happening, I actually make 0.02% in this transaction. So what I would do is I would go ahead and go swap. It reconfirms everything. So it tells me how much I'm paying, what the output is, what the expectation is, how much I'm going to make in the arbitrage for it. I can go confirm. Again, as the price changes in real time, it updates that as well. I'm going to go confirm. Should guess, okay. I haven't set that. What to do with the slippage. But yeah, point being that like you can actually see in real time what's happening and change your. So again, it's 0.2. Let's see if that works. Cool. And so MetaMask pops up. Are you happy to do the transaction? My internet is still very slow. I'm going to go confirm. And then it'll take a couple of seconds and we will see the reflection of that happening here. So if I click on this, I can see transactions that's happening. Just got a notification up here. And if I refresh this page, my balance for BUSD and thing would be updated. So yeah, I mean that's really how easy it is to actually do a transaction in the DeFi space. And if I check my wallet, I can see the updated pricing, and I can see the different tokens as well. And you can click on activity. So actually the transaction didn't go through. And so you can click on the transaction itself and see why the transaction failed. Still going through. But yeah, anyway, hopefully that answers your question about the arbitrage, Lorenzo.
He's smiling.
Thanks, Adi. I'm smiling on a dark day.
Yeah, it has been a dark day in the crypto space for sure. Awesome.
Thank you.
So yeah, so going back to Awesome token, this is actually a pretty funny story, and it's a story that I'm pretty proud of. So a couple of years ago, I was invited to speak at this conference, and in the crypto space, you get various levels of conferences. You get some really, really good ones and you get some really, really bad ones. So this one, let's just say, wasn't the best one. It was in New York City. Wasn't one of the biggest conferences that happens, but it was one of the kind of more offshoot side conference events that happen. And I was invited to come speak and kind of share insights about crypto and what I thought about the space and all that sort of stuff. And so I turned up to this event, and I was scheduled to be the last presenter of the day. And this particular conference was one of those where it literally, the conference hosts were charging these projects money to present, right? And so the projects that were presenting were very much there just to try and milk the audience for as much money and capital raising and whatnot as possible. And so I turned up, and literally like 5 out of the 6 speakers were ERC20 tokens that they'd made for really, really random things. And they were like, oh, we're going to raise $10 million for this project. And these are our plans, and this is what we're going to do. And this is the valuation. So I sat through the whole day of these presentations, kind of kicking myself.
Are you reading a question from Roger?
Yeah, Roger, this is an actual story. This actually happened, not an analogy. So anyway, at this conference, was listening through these projects, and by the end of the day, I got so sick and tired because literally every single one of these projects was just a simple ERC20 token that they were trying to raise these ridiculous amounts of money on. And because of the crypto hype, most of the room was like retail, non-institutional, uninformed investors that were willing to buy these projects, even though the projects hadn't done anything, they weren't worth anything. And that was actually pretty scary at the time. And so I go on stage and I'm like, I had my whole presentation and everything, and I was like, this is bullshit. This is like what you've seen for the last like 5-6 presentations is absolutely ridiculous. And like, I would highly recommend you don't buy these projects because the odds of you getting scammed are pretty high, and all the other projects are kind of sitting there. And I was like, the reason for this is not anything personal to do with these individuals, but the fact that it's so incredibly easy to create an ERC20 token and to put a label and a tag on it, that I could do this on stage. So a couple of the projects kind of stood up in defense, and they're like, all right, well, why don't you do it? And I was like, all right, done. So I pulled up a developer thing on the Ropstein network on Ethereum, and pulled up Remix, and I literally like copy pasted a contract, a ERC20 contract into the code, changed up the values, got the values wrong. So I was hoping to make 100 million Awesomali tokens, but I got the decimal places wrong. So I ended up making 100 Awesomali tokens. And then I was like, look, not only is this project that I've just created more valuable than all of these other projects, I can actually make this project regulation compliant compared to all the other projects that you just heard. And the way to do that at the time was I was like, look, like put your hand up if you want a free token, right? And there was like 18 people that put their hand up, and so I can actually show you guys. I pulled it up. So this is the original Awesomali token, and yeah, I just sent the tokens to a bunch of different people, particularly at the particular event. And then when I sent the tokens to them, I then said, okay, so from a regulation standpoint, you've received the token for free. So you weren't marketed it, you weren't sold it, you know, it's not a security. You not only received the token for free, I'm going to make it so that each token is worth an hour of my time. And there was a total of 100 tokens. So each token is worth an hour of my time. So at the minimum price point, it's worth minimum wages no matter which country you're in, right? So it sets a base level pricing for the token. And then the other thing is, you know, there's a mechanism for you to actually redeem that. So I put up like a very simple landing page where someone could deposit their token. It would send me a notification, and then I can, you know, spend an hour with that person. So that happened a couple of years ago. But what it meant was that I kind of accidentally became the first person to tokenize my own time, which was pretty interesting. And I always say that I'm sure other people have tokenized their own time. I just don't know about it. But, you know, if their blockchain timestamp is earlier than mine, I'll believe it. If it's not, then obviously they're not, right? So that was how the original V1 Awesomali token was created. And how I kind of highlighted how you can make a regulated token that, you know, is meaningful and valuable, rather than breaching regulation and selling random cryptos to people. So I hope I managed to convince some people not to buy those projects, and those projects don't exist today. So hopefully some people saved some money. But the Awesomali token V2, which I can share, is a more recent development. So so this time around, I got the math right. I created the token, so there is one token for every second of my time, for an hour a day for the next 10 years. And so the purpose is this, and if you do the math, it's 13,140,000 tokens. The most interesting thing about this actually is it's actually worth something now. So the crypto market, because of liquidity pools, I put some Awesomali token in a liquidity pool, and it actually has given it a market cap. So I'm just gonna put it into this, and this blows my mind, by the way. I spent all of $5 making this token, and this is the current market cap of Awesomali token.
Wait, the Awesomali token has a market cap of over $500,000 right now?
Yeah. And this is because of liquidity pools, right? So like, because it's sitting in liquidity pools, like I've got $136 in my wallet, but the Osomali token is currently capped at 589,000 US. But the really interesting thing about the Osomali token this time around, and there's a website for it as well, is basically I wanted to learn about Binance Smart Chain, and we'll dive into that in a second. But Binance Smart Chain is a lot more centralized than Ethereum, but it's built in a pretty trusted manner alongside Binance, and it's a lot faster, it's a lot cheaper, and it's a lot easier to get into the DeFi space if you don't have as much capital, because it allows you to do the same transactions and to be in the same pools as someone else, but just running on a different network. So I wanted to learn about that, and I wanted to really understand like how it works, and you know, if it was the same as Ethereum in terms of development and that sort of stuff. So I created Osomali token V2. Again, got the math right, so there's a lot more tokens this time. But once I created it, I kind of, this time around, I was like, you know, I actually want to be pretty meaningful and intentional about this token. So an hour worth of my time, according to Osomali token, is worth $125 at the moment, which actually isn't too far off in terms of like in line with like what I might charge from a consulting standpoint. And so what I'm starting to do now is every time I send an invoice, I include Osomali token and how much Osomali token you'd have to pay me, or you can pay in US dollars as well. But basically, I'm just sending out Osomali token to my friends and family, and I will send it out to people on this call as well. But the biggest thing is I see it as a philanthropic thing, right? So, for example, you know, the fact that Osomali token is worth 500,000 at the moment from a market cap standpoint, as it starts to get more liquidity, I can gift my own tokens to a particular charity, right? So let's say, for example, I gifted 10,000 US dollars worth of Osomali token to, you know, to Leonardo, for example, right, as a not-for-profit. Now, where it gets really interesting is Leonardo can choose to sell those tokens on the crypto markets for actual cash, if actual cash is more meaningful to that organization, or they can choose to redeem that by sending the token to a wallet address, and then I will follow up and say, okay, cool, like you've booked an hour with me or you booked 5 hours with me, right? And every time a token is utilized, so for example, if someone sends me an hour worth of my tokens back to me, I burn that token. And so the total market cap and the total supply of the token reduces. So it's a deflationary token. And then periodically, so in a 6-month period, for example, if I haven't actually gifted enough people X amount of tokens, because I'm making an hour worth of tokens a day, essentially, that's how much has been mined, I will just burn those. So again, you don't get time back that you don't use, right? Like time is ever moving forward. So over time, like let's say 10 years from now, you know, if I'm a really important person and my time is valuable, who knows how much the Osomali token is worth? You know, Bill Gates' lunches sell for like $5 million or whatnot. So I think, you know, 10 years from now, people holding the Osomali token, it might actually be really valuable to be able to redeem that for my time, but equally being able to sell it on open liquidity markets and liquidity pools for actual cash, and both things are meaningful. So that's kind of the rationale for Osomali token. I spending a very little amount of time in the weekends just like getting the landing page and stuff for it, so it'll be redeemable and whatnot. But I'm going to pause there and let people ask questions about it, because I know that's been a big session of me talking for a bit.
Yeah, let's you know, see if there's any questions that folks want to put in the chat there. You know, I'm so the first time Adi, you shared the story with me, well, about V2, because we talked about V1 a long time ago, and frankly, just for the record, you know, I've met a number of folks in the space. I know you have too. I haven't met anyone else yet that's tokenized their time, but like you, I imagine someone maybe has done it. I just haven't heard about it yet. But curious, you know, in terms of the the philanthropic aspects of the Asamadi token, that's what really inspired me around the tokenizing your time aspect. And hoping that, some others are inspired maybe to perhaps produce their own tokens as well. This is something that is still quite nascent and quite new. And I'm sure a lot of folks are thinking, wait, what? What do you mean? But I do, as you were sharing the story about V2, I was reminded of Vitalik's recent donation in the form of Shiba Inus, right? I mean, he did, what was it, like billions?
Just over $1 billion, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. So, I mean, as you suggested, right? I mean, whoever he donated that to, which I believe was India or some groups in India, they could cash that out for real hard currency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's brilliant, right? Like, again, Vitalik and the amount of people that send him random tokens. So basically, the background for a lot of people on the call, Vitalik, who is one of the co-founders of Ethereum, every time people create projects, and I don't know for what reason, but they just send him a random amount of tokens. I think a lot of times the hope is that because people see the tokens being held in his public wallet, they think that, okay, cool, he's a holder of those tokens, therefore we should buy those tokens as well, or some rationale like that, right? But basically, what he did recently was he took all of the tokens that he'd just been gifted, and he just gifted all the tokens he'd been gifted to India and to the relief efforts that are going on over there. And that added up to over $1 billion. So imagine just receiving random quote unquote gifts that you can then pass on that are worth $1 billion. So it's a really cool story.
It's wonderful. Let's jump. If there's no questions, I'm just looking at the chat. I don't see any yet, but if folks want to populate something in there. Oh, Lorenzo's got something. He says the idea of pre-selling your time is really fascinating.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because I'm one of those people that really, really dislikes the ability for other people to control my time. So, I still don't have a Calendly or a calendar manager where someone can just book a time with me. I like the idea and the autonomy of like setting when I want to work and when I want to have meetings and whatnot, right? And so it's really interesting because this goes both ways, where this is like, it's a pre-sale. If I wanted to sell it for dollars, but I don't want to deal with the regulations, so I'm just giving it away for free. But yeah, you could absolutely do that. So you could absolutely fund your college education, and to be honest, like similar things have been done in place. So for example, if you think about the military, right? Quite often there are military scholarships where they pay you to go to university and they pay your student loan in return for a return of service of 4 or 5 years, right? This is, in some ways, it could be treated as a similar model where you as an individual could create your own tokens, sell that on the open markets, use that to fund whatever skills and things that you have, and now you're more valuable as a person, and so people can redeem your token or sell that on to other people, and it starts to become a pretty interesting model. Similar to yeah, exactly, the consulting retainer model as well. But equally, it also becomes fascinating because you kind of become your own sovereignty a little bit, where if you're sending out an invoice to a person, you can choose to receive that payment in US dollars, or you can choose to receive that payment in Asamadi token, or you can choose to receive that payment in something else. And the idea of time banking and being able to swap skills to time becomes easier because if I know Tim is really, really good at hacking, and I know I'm really, really good at something that Tim needs, then we can do a direct swap, and that's brilliant. But if the skill set that I'm really good at is valuable to a third party, then I could send my tokens to Tim for his services, but then he can redeem that elsewhere for someone else's asset, and it starts to create a little bit of an ecosystem. That's some pretty interesting concept that a lot of people are working on, that I find fascinating, but I haven't spent time on. Yeah, and Lorenzo, that's also a really interesting concept. So there is actually a school in the US that provides software engineering and training for free, and they provide some of the highest quality education out there. And that particular school has a similar model where once you get into the workforce and they help you find a job, you pay them back by a percentage share of your revenue or your income for a period of time. So again, it's a similar structure of an investment and then your value equitized and then that returning back. So I think like what's interesting now is kind of the next little jump is I posted 2 links in the chat if everyone can see it. So the first link is step-by-step instructions on how to create a MetaMask wallet and how to connect Binance Smart Chain to it. So the Awesome Adi token is running on the Binance Smart Chain. So if people are able to create a wallet just following those instructions, I can send you Awesome Adi tokens now, or following up from this call, if there's a way for, I guess, Tim and team to collect wallet addresses, I can send the tokens later as well. But yeah, as promised, I'll send 3,600 Awesome Adi tokens, which is an hour of my time. Currently, crypto market cap thinks it's worth $125 an hour. So that's kind of the next thing I think would be interesting to look at. And then after that, I will show you some of the DeFi stuff and some of the tools that are available in the space to actually see your wallet balances and that kind of thing.
Ready to jump into it whenever you are, Adi.
Awesome. So I'll share my screen. Cool. I'm not sure how many people are kind of going through this right now, but the link is in the chat. Again, follow the link to here. A lot of people may already have a MetaMask, and if you don't, this is a really, really easy way to go about it. I already have a MetaMask set up, so again, you literally go to the browser, click download. It will install up here on your web browser. It's a little bit slow at the moment for me. But if you follow those instructions, where it becomes relevant though is once you've created your wallet and saved your seed phrase, then that's when we can follow along. So I don't know, Tim, do we want to do like if people are actually going to follow along to this now? Can people give me some kind of indications? I know it's worth.
You know what, Adi? I'm following along with you. So okay. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I've actually got my MetaMask already set up in my Brave browser, but if we can talk through it, it'd probably be helpful for those who don't.
Are you on Chrome, Tim?
You know what? I'm on Brave, but I can swap to Chrome.
If you swap to Chrome and go through the process, that way you can share your screen and then I can walk through it. Cool. And that way, yeah, that's probably the easiest way.
Cool. Let's do that then. Hold on just a second.
Cool. And there's a couple people in the chat also doing the same thing. Awesome.
Oh, great. Okay, so looks like looks like Maddie's downloading now. So awesome. So I'll share my screen, Adi, and then let's just walk through it.
Awesome. So Erica just sent through her MetaMask in there. Erica, just to confirm, is that running on the Binance Smart Chain? Because if not, it won't go anywhere. So I got to show that step. So if you just ping me and confirm it is on Binance Smart Chain or it's not, I think that's important to know.
My internet might get crappy as well, so you can make fun of me if it starts slowing down.
Awesome. That sounds good. So MetaMask, yep, just add that to Chrome. Cool.
I'll just create a new one.
Yeah, create a new one, Tim.
Hold on just a sec. I'm just gonna pop something in there. Okay, let's just run a rando to create.
Cool. So hope you guys are following along. You wanna maybe just gonna remind me later?
Yep.
Well, this is why we're creating a new wallet, so it's okay.
Exactly.
You can always transfer it. Awesome. So you've created a MetaMask, which is brilliant. You can cross that out. Now, Tim, this is a really important bit. So if you click on the little circle on the top right, no, sorry, go back to the page you're on, MetaMask.
Right here.
Yeah, click that. Go down to settings. Yeah, click on settings. So this is the most important step, guys. This is how you switch between Ether and the MetaMask running on Ether to running on the Binance Smart Chain. Okay, so go down to networks, Tim.
Hey, Audie, I'm going to turn my video off just to try to conserve some bandwidth because I think my computer is going to start slowing up. All right, so where am I going?
So go click on networks.
Done.
Just it's loading, I think. Awesome. And then now go add network. Cool. Yeah, so you have to put it in. So now if you open that document that I shared with you, Tim,
yeah, hold on just a sec. Let me go back to the chat.
Cool. There's a couple of people.
The Binance page?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
That, and then if you copy paste the mainnet addresses, that's the next bit.
Okay. All right. So where is
the network name is Smart Chain.
Sorry, I went into my other browser. Just a second.
Noise.
Where is so network's down here? Here we go. This guy right here.
Yeah.
Network name Smart Chain.
Yeah, and then network RPC URL, so BSC data seed.
Okay.
So this is all on the instructions for other people following along as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this guy out of the way. All right. And then here we go. See RPC URL, and then we're gonna go back. Chain ID is 56. BNB. Should I put in the currency symbol?
Yeah, just BNB.
Yep. And then
cool. And then hit save once you're done. Awesome.
Done.
That'll take a second. Cool, awesome. All right, so now if you click on your MetaMask, so just click on the little MetaMask icon so you can go back to the home. Yeah. And then see at the top how there's a drop down that says Smart Chain now. So you can switch this back anytime. So if you want to receive ERC20 assets or Ethereum assets, you just click Ethereum mainnet. Otherwise, you just leave it on Smart Chain. So now, Tim, if you click on your account one where it says account one, it will copy it. And if you paste it in the chat, I will send you some Awesome Adi token. And then I'll show you how to make sure the Awesome Adi token shows up. So if you want to paste that in the chat, awesome. By the way, guys, these are public links. So I know some of you have been direct messaging me. If you put it publicly, who knows, other people may send you gifts as well because, public keys are pretty safe. No one can steal your money if they just have your public key.
Audie, you didn't tell the story about how your T-shirt with your public address on it, your wallet address.
Yeah, that's right. Do you know, I actually need to find those T-shirts now because at the time Bitcoin was worth $2,000 New Zealand, and we put $100 worth of Bitcoin in every T-shirt that we sold. So it's probably worth a lot of money now.
Oh man.
One second. Okay, cool. So I'll share my screen now, Tim, if you want to stop sharing for a second.
Yep.
Cool. So copy that. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, you can see it.
Okay, so copy Tim's address. I'm gonna put it. Open up my MetaMask. Send. So for some reason, it's actually not letting me copy from the chat, which is kind of annoying. Is there a way? Is that a host settings?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it's in the host settings or not, but
it's not. It's a Zoom issue.
Damn it.
So you know what I'll do, Audie, just so that we can finish the demonstration. Let me I'll send it to you on. I'll send it to you out of band real quick.
Okay. Yeah, and then can we also, whoever's the host, I guess, also save all of these messages in the chat so then I can send it to everyone because I can't copy paste right now.
So I'll ask Aaron or Liz if they can copy the transcript in the chat just so that we can capture everyone's wallet addresses. Audie, if you check Messenger, yep, got it.
I've got it. I'm just pulling it up now. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know if it's the internet that's really slow today or just my laptop, but
I think it's, my laptop is like, if I have the camera on and I'm sharing, it starts getting really weird.
Yeah. Okay, hopefully I have copied that correctly. 1 second.
Oh, do you want to share your screen again, Audie?
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. All right. Cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to go send to Tim. Put his address in. Again, you can add addresses. So I won't add this one because Tim might not use this one, but you can save people's like address just like a regular address book. In the asset, I'm going to select Osmali token, and I'm going to send Tim 3,600 Osmali token, which is an hour worth of my time. Let's move this. Go next and confirm. Cool. And it should take a second. I can see it happening in the activity. I can actually click on the transaction, which should open up a window that allows me to see if the transaction is processed or not. So it'll take a few seconds. This is the bit that's important, Tim. So once the transaction goes through. By the way, the Binance Smart Chain in the last couple of days has been doing more volume than the Ethereum chain. And
Wow.
so over the last couple of days, it's actually been sometimes a little bit slower just because of the sheer number of transactions that are taking place.
Sure, and I'm actually refreshing on my side too, as well.
Yeah, so Tim, this is the bit where still actually loading. The transaction's gone through, but it is still processing the. So Tim, if you go to if you search, actually, let me put this link in the chat 1 second. Oh, there we go. Cool. So this is your transaction ID. Where's the screen? Okay, 1 second. So Tim, if you want to share your screen again and click on that link, I'll show you the next step.
Okay. While I'm doing this, Lorenzo asked the question of is it cheaper for gas on Binance?
Yeah, absolutely, and you'll see the transaction in a second. So if you click on the link that I just put in the chat, Tim.
Yeah, let's go chat.
And then if you open up the link. Sorry, I put it in the Zoom chat.
Oh, did you? Can you hold on just a sec? Can you see my screen? I clicked on the link. Is this one?
It hasn't loaded yet. You're still on the MetaMask wallet.
It hasn't actually come through yet. Hold on, I got to turn off my video again. It's my internet connection, I guess. Let me know when you can see the screen.
I can see a screen, but I don't think that's the one.
Okay, hold on. All right, cool. Hold on just a second. I think what it did was, it's only sharing that browser. Hold on just a second. I've got to close some other things so that you can actually see. And it opened up in my other browser. All right, cool. So let's close this guy. All right, perfect. So now, take this. I haven't been using Chrome as my my standard browser lately.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Let me share. Can you see it?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So guys, this is the success summary of the transaction. The question about transaction fees. So as you can see, that's the transaction fee, 9 cents, a lot better. Yeah, a lot better than what Ether transaction fees are at the moment. So now, Tim, if you click on where it says Awesome Adi token, click on that little yeah. So that takes you to the token contract. And what you can do here is you can obviously see all the transactions, you can see all the token holders by volume and by size and all that interesting stuff. You can see the contract and see it's verified, which, by the way, I did get it verified by BSC. But if you scroll up, Tim, and so all the way up, the other up, and see where it says the contract near the top.
Where it says
Yeah,
contract.
the contract profile summary. See where it says the contract. Okay, if you copy that and you open your MetaMask again, and if you go add token, and then you can just paste it in there, it auto pulls it up, and you go next, and you go add tokens. There you go. If you go back to your account, you'll see all your balance. And then, Tim, this is where it gets really, really fun. Is if you copy, if you type in your browser farm.army, so open a new tab, and I'll put that in the chat as well. This is one of the best tools in the crypto space, particularly to track your DeFi assets. Yeah, put farm.army in there. And then if you copy your wallet public key, Tim, and paste it in that, it will show you your wallet balances. So it'll take a second to load. By the way, all the DeFi stuff that, if you're using Pancake or Bunny or Sushi, all of these different things, it shows up here. So if you click on your wallet, Tim, it will show you obviously the Awesome Adi tokens that you've got. But this is auto calculating. So like, rather than manually having to add your portfolios and try and figure that out, this just uses your public key to look at your wallet and tell you your balances. So this is a brilliant tool in the crypto space. Awesome. So I'm going, Tim, if you stop sharing your screen, does anyone have any questions about that for a minute, and then I can dive into some of my projects that I'm currently invested in that are probably interesting for you guys as well.
That's a good question, Dixon.
I might have to send an invoice for that for Awesome Adi token. Awesome, guys. So basically, yeah. Any questions about that? How to set up your Binance Smart Chain wallet, or anything about the steps that we just went through?
Adi, while we sort of wait for folks to kind of process and think about it, Osha always reminds me that, like, whenever she's around you or I or Aram or someone, that this stuff goes over your head really fast. So looks like someone said, how do you get your wallet ID?
So the wallet ID is the if you've got the MetaMask set up, where it says account, your account one, it probably says, if you've just created it. If you click on that, it will copy your wallet ID to your copy paste thing.
Should we show it on my screen, Audi?
Yeah, I can show it as well. 1 second.
Okay. All right.
So where'd the browser go? Okay, so if you can see my screen, I click on my MetaMask. It's taking a second. Cool, and then this right here, if I click on that, that is my wallet ID. So that's my public key, and I can do whatever with it.
Nice. So let's wait for some other questions to come in. While we're doing that, though, curious, what are the big sort of DeFi groups or DeFi pools that you're a part of right now? I know Pancake's a major one. What are some other ones that are out there that people can look into?
Yeah, so let me share my screen and actually showcase some of those. So So the first one that I'm a really big fan of is this thing called Steel. And fair warning that, like, this stuff is super volatile and pretty ridiculous. So it can go up and down, but if you're staying on top of it and you can, put your own measurements in place and get in and out when you think it makes sense, these things are pretty valuable. So if I start from the top, so this one is called Iron Finance. So again, I can put the link in the chat, but the way you interact with any of these things is using. It doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't let me show the chat while I'm screen sharing. It's kind of like. So this is the first one. This one I'm a big fan of for two reasons. So if I start from the top, again, you can see the different tokens that this network has. What I really like about this is this thing called Foundry. And what Foundry does is, as you can see, the returns on it at the moment. And what it does is it essentially uses these things to mine the network and to generate new tokens, but also the utility that the token has generates a profit, which it then distributes the profit to token holders. And currently the profit distribution, you're earning 350% a year. So I've got 4,700 worth of Steel that I've staked. And so every 12 hours, I'm making $15.60 in US dollars. And the next time, so the next 42 minutes, when this next happens, because some people have sold theirs and I've kept mine, I'm actually making a little bit more. So I'm making $17.84 in about 40 minutes when that happens. The price of Steel at the moment, so if you look at the price at the moment, it's 78 cents, right? So from a math standpoint, this is, just over $3,500 US dollars, and I'm making just over $30 USD a day, which is pretty nice. That's rent paid in some places. They're probably not in New York City in the major hubs. So I'm a fan of this platform. Farm is also really interesting on this platform. So they've got a bunch of different farms that you can put your money towards. I'm particularly a fan of this farm here, so the D&D Iron Farm, because this farm earns me BTC. And so I've staked my money in here, and in the last, how long? So I think it's been just under 24 hours that I've been part of this, but if I go BTC to US dollars, I've earned in Bitcoin 100 US dollars worth of Bitcoin from $5,000 in this farm over the last 24 hours. Again, a fair caveat that, like, to earn this Bitcoin, I'm staking DND, which is this token called Diamond, and Iron, which is a stable coin on the Iron platform. But both of these can be pretty volatile, right? So like the risk that I'm taking is this 5,000, and this was $6,000 yesterday, is down $1,000, and the price can fluctuate a lot. But equally, I like the fact that I'm earning Bitcoin for doing nothing, and I can claim it at any point in time, and I can choose to invest it into something else if I like. So this is one of the ones that I'm a fan of. Actually, let me show you. It's a different wallet, but yeah, this one of the ones that I'm a fan of. And then Pancake is another one. So if we go, sorry, there was a question. Someone said something. No, I guess someone is muting. I'll share my screen again. So another one, this is the biggest one on the Binance Smart Chain, called Pancake. Again, really interesting. There is a lot of farms that you can get involved in, and you can stake money into different farms. This is probably the safest one in terms of the stability. So as you can see, like if you're in the Cake BNB farm, you're going to get 41% APR in a year. And there's over $1 billion locked, right? So like, even if you're investing $1 million into this pool, in the long term, like it's a pretty safe bet compared to some of the other farms because of the amount of liquidity that it has. So again, this is a really good one, and I'll share these links in the chat afterwards as well. Another really good one is this one. So this one, I think, particularly right now while the market is crashing, this is probably one of the best ones to look at. So this particular farm, if I go to the homepage, so there's just some statistics about Nerve at the moment. There's over $1 billion locked in these liquidity pools. But if I go to pools, this is the craziest thing I've actually seen. So for holding US dollars, each one of these is a US dollar tether. So BUSD is 1-to-1 US dollar. This is 1-to-1 US dollar. So is the USDC. And so there's 300 million locked in this pool. But basically, you're getting a 47% yield or return a year for holding US dollars, which is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Similar to there's other pools, so you can hold Bitcoin and receive yields for holding Bitcoin. Same with Ether, and then there's some pools with some other slightly other assets in there as well. So I'm a big fan of this one. I actually just yesterday invested in this funny one. This project is 7 days old, if you're really, really risk tolerant like me, you might want to put $100 or $200 into it. But this is basically a Pancake Swap copycat. So Pancake Swap is the original platform. These guys literally just copied everything and then changed up the UX UI. But it's interesting because, you know, the yields are pretty significant. So if I go into the farm, I've earned 4.126 zombie basically since this call started. And the returns are 6,600% a year at the moment on this particular farm. So that zombie, so since we started this meeting, I've made $30 on this particular farm just because of how crazy the returns and the yields are. But a big warning with things like this, though, is that Pancake is really, really stable because of the amount of liquidity that it has. This farm right now, if I click on details, only has $110,000 worth of liquidity, which means that, like, if I wanted to buy or sell, let's say $10,000 worth, I would completely change the pricing of the pool up or down pretty substantially. And as I'm earning the zombie, you know, if everyone that's in this farm decided to sell it at the same time, and you were the slower one, you might just be holding something that's worth $0. So these things can have really, really high returns, but they are the highest risk. But also interesting to look at. So yeah, that's some of the DeFi pools that I'm currently a part of. DeFi pools come in 3 varieties typically. So you have a kind of a liquidity farm that is, you're putting tokens into that pool and the platform is giving you free tokens such as Zombie token or Pancake or Cake or something else. And that token then you can sell for cash or whatever else you want to do with it. That's one kind of liquidity farm. There is mining pools. So, you know, the mining pool that I showed you with Iron Finance, that pool is a farm where it's using my assets to secure the network, and it's utilizing those assets to keep the pricing of the token at a certain price. And in return for that, I get paid out in US dollars and BUSD. And then there's debt farms where basically you can deposit your funds. The platform issues your funds out to another person that then can trade it or do whatever with it they want. And the premiums they pay come back to you as the person providing the liquidity. So generally speaking, there's kind of 3 different types of farms. The debt farms are probably some of the safer ones because of smart contracts you can trust. And if the contract is audited, then you know that it's pretty secure. Some of these liquidity farms are pretty risky. I know there's some questions about it, but so Lorenzo, this is the thing, right? If you hold $100 worth of US dollars, even if the US dollar falls in comparison to other currencies, which by the way it has in the last year a lot, it's still valuable, right? Like you can still use it. But if you put $100 worth of US dollars into that zombie farm, yes, in a year you have, $6,000 worth from your $100 worth that you put in, or maybe even more, but you're holding it in zombie token in that particular asset. So if it's not liquid enough for you to be able to sell it, you're really holding something that is worth nothing because you can't sell it, right? So my rule of thumb is always, whatever money that you put in, as soon as you get 100% return on it, which at 6,000% is like a week and a half, you get 100% ROI. Basically sell it every day until you've cashed out your original investment, and then you can hold it. And even if it goes to zero, you don't actually lose any real value. So that's kind of been my rule of thumb on that. But it is pretty lucrative. So the reason I got into some of these liquidity farms was me and my mom made a deal that if I paid off my student loan, I could buy a motorbike. And so I put like a bunch of money into these liquidity pools, and like a month later, I'd paid off my student loan. But I'm heading overseas soon, so I haven't bought the bike, but I can buy the bike, which is the important part.
Hey, Adi, this is here's a question for you. So there's also a lot of crypto banks out there, right? Celsius, Nexo, those guys. And a lot of them are doing where, you put your assets in, they give you a 20% yield, similar to how Bank of America is only giving you 1%. Curious what your thoughts are around some of those crypto banks that are giving the high yields. Just for the folks who maybe are like, hey, this like the swapping thing is too much for me. Like, I just want to put my money somewhere. What are your thoughts on those crypto banks?
Yeah, I mean, those crypto banks are a lot safer than the things that I just showed you guys. But with safety and security comes the yield as well, right? Like you'd be making 10-20% on some of those crypto banks, and as long as the smart contracts that they use are pretty secure, and ideally, if they're kind of using centralized systems, they've also got some insurance to protect your assets. It's a pretty safe bet, right? Especially because a lot of those crypto banks are actually regulated as well. And you're getting 18 to 20% returns a year. But if you're someone crazy like me that could, do 100x and 100% return in a week and a half, my risk tolerance, especially in crypto, is like, I make safer investments outside the crypto world. So if I'm in the crypto world, I might as well make ridiculous investments that can make me really large yields, because who knows, right?
Yep.
So, but if you're a risk averse person, or if you're someone that just wants to put money into a pool and let it generating assets, then that's probably the best. In saying that, Pancake and the Cake, Pancake Finance, which is the first link that I sent you guys, that one is pretty safe. So most of the crypto hedge funds and most of the crypto like big investors are actually holding Cake and investing into Cake. So if you want something that's like pretty reliable with decent returns in the long term, you'll have some prices volatility in Pancake Swap. But if you're holding Cake and against BNB or Cake against BUSD or something, you're in pretty good hands that you'll get reasonable returns over a period of time without taking on too much risk. It's one of the safer ones for sure.
So here's another question for you. So could you consider this buying the dip? Are you buying the dip?
Yeah, so I'm actually all the returns that I'm getting from all of these DeFi farms are going straight into buying BTC at the moment. So I think that I don't know if this is the market crash, and hindsight will tell the tale if this was the beginning of the crash, or if you buy the dip and then it goes back up, which is again a good thing. But I think the reality is that the best strategy I've always given anyone ever about crypto is put up to 5% or 10% of your net worth into a bank, and that bank automatically buy crypto on a weekly or a daily basis and just weighted average. And that, if you want to be a crypto millionaire, that is the way of doing it. Versus the amount of mistakes I've made in the crypto space that have cost me so much money is actually pretty ridiculous. Versus if I just bought my Bitcoin and held it and done nothing, I would be 100x more than what I am at the moment in the crypto portfolio. So just the timing is everything. And so if you can take the timing risk out of it, that's the best way to go. So I'm not sure where everyone's based, but like in the US, with Cash App, with Coinbase, with there's hundreds of platforms, pick one that you trust, set a weekly buy. If it's $5, if it's $100, $1,000 a week, doesn't matter. Just weekly buy it and just hold it. And then, keep a little bit of money aside for this DeFi and these other interesting things. But the bulk of your portfolio, you want to hold in Bitcoin at probably 40 to 50%. You want to hold, Ethereum at probably 20, 25%. And personally, for me, I like the idea of holding BNB now because CZ and as a company, they're executing really, really well at 20 to 25%. Everything else, like great, play around with it with a few percentage points of your portfolio. But like the fact that Bitcoin dominance is back at like 35, 40% now, what we've noticed is like every time Bitcoin goes down to that level, and the crypto market crashes, Bitcoin's typically what leads the charge. So Bitcoin dominance goes all the way up to 65, 70%. And then the money is then diversified from the Bitcoin gains into other assets. And that's typically what starts the altcoin run that we've seen at the moment. So I am definitely buying the dip and will continue to do so. And ideally, we'll continue to do so on a weekly basis for a period of time, because I do think in the long term, that's the best way to win in the space.
Yeah, no, we're in the same boat on that one. I think, I know we've talked about this a number of times. Dollar cost averaging tends to work in both the crypto market and the equities. Like you said, doing $5 a week or whatever the case may be. Looks like Lorenzo has a question. Oh, well, this one's easy.
Yeah, so I mean, like, this is definitely not financial advice, so please don't sue me. But I do think that with ETH 2.0 coming in the massive ecosystem that Ether has, I wouldn't be surprised that once Ether goes deflationary, which is about to happen pretty soon, that ETH could hit $10,000 or more in some point in the future. So it's a pretty jump, 4-5x from where it's at now. It could be higher. Again, could go a lot lower. Like I bought some Ether 2 years ago at $80 a pop, so it is very volatile. But just bear in mind that like I do see potential, and it's one of my biggest holdings always.
Sure. And I know we're actually at a pretty good had a pretty good session here. I got one last question for you, and I'm looking to see if anyone else in the chat has any last ending questions here for Adiraj. So, what are, of the digital assets out there that you're holding, what are some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites. So I really like, my big ones are Bitcoin, Ether, and BNB. I also have a bunch of shit coins. So I have Elongate. I recently bought the Chad token, which I'm not going to share, but like you can Google it in your own time. And I bought it because I just find it hilarious. I'm down 70% on it, but I just treat it as a entertainment investment, where I check in on the Telegram every day and just have a good laugh from it. But yeah, I think BTC, Ether, BNB is my biggest one. And then outside of that, at the moment, I have these DeFi ones that I showed you guys. So Steel is a big one for me. The diamond pool is a big one as well. And then I've got a pretty big position in some other just DeFi protocols. So like Zombie at the moment. But those positions change on a daily basis. So like yesterday I had, thanks so much, Dixon. Thanks for joining. Pretty bullish in terms of like a lot of these. So funnily enough, I actually have a massive position in Internet Computer Definity, not because I bought it, but because they sent me a whole bunch for free. So last time I checked, I signed up to the Definity airdrop like 4 years ago, and I've just been airdropped like 28 Definity, which I think was worth like $800 a week ago. I haven't checked, but it was worth like well over 10K it's at 220 right now. Okay, so it's probably like, don't know, worth maybe $3,500, $4,000 at the moment. But it was worth like over 10K like a week and a bit ago when they dropped the airdrop. So I accidentally have a good position in it.
Adi, is it, in my experience, and I'm wondering if this has been your experience, the easiest way to get tokens of any kind is people giving them to you. It's just,
yeah. I mean, like if you can, especially for free, sign up to as many airdrop things as possible, because it's free money. It's literally free money. Like out of just by being in the space, I've probably received close to $20,000 worth of like free airdrops over the last 5 years. A lot of them I've also just given away to a lot of people just to kind of help get them, or sold them for crypto to help get other people involved in the space. But yeah, you do get a lot of airdrops. Also, Lorenzo, I haven't actually spent a lot of time looking at Decentralized, so I can't answer that question without doing justice to the project. But that's on my to-do list, especially because I'm a token holder, so exactly to pay attention. Yeah, so other projects. Yeah, so what I was saying about the DeFi space is positions could change within days. So I completely changed 40% of my DeFi position in an hour, like yesterday. So I shifted from Walt Finance to Zombie, and changed from Nerve to Iron Finance. I was recently also in Value DeFi, where I had like a $15,000 position in, but they got hacked. $300 million got hacked. So now my position's worth $400. So you have to bear in mind that like it is safe, and if it's audited, it's safer. But things can still go wrong, and you can still definitely lose a lot of money. So, definitely invest at your own risk, and definitely stake at your own risk. Because as much as the returns can be really, really high and really meaningful, it could also go to zero in a day. So there is always that fair warning.
Absolutely. Adiraj, I want to thank you again for the time, for being here with us today. I can, just speak from my own experience and what I believe from the chat, and just, I think that, this was really, really fun. The hands-on experience was awesome as well. And there's a ton of folks who are going to be new awesome Adi token holders. So, thank you so much for this time, man.
Awesome. No, thank you guys for joining. It was definitely a lot of fun. Once you send me the addresses, Tim, I'll shoot awesome Adi tokens to everyone that joined the call. But yeah, looking forward to having you guys as token holders, and yeah, awesome Adi to the moon, I guess.
To the moon.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Adi. Thank you everyone for joining. Lorenzo is going to be pumping it on Reddit. Thank you everyone for your time today. As you know, this is a regular thing for us. We're so excited, and we look forward to having you with us next time. Thanks again, Adiraj, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you guys. See you later.
See you everyone.